14th August 2005, Athens, the capital of Greece. A strange and terrifying guest in the sky of Mandla was about 10,000 meters from the ground. A passenger plane flies above, in absolute silence. I was just roaming around without connecting with anyone. The scary thing about this was that in the last two, this plane has been stuck in any control tower for hours. No one was responding to his messages. Fear had spread in the atmosphere of Athens. Was this a preparation for a terrorist attack? Or any hijacking event? This fear. Because of this, the Greek Air Force immediately sent its fighter jets. The jets were sent after it. When the jets approached the plane, a mind-blowing scene was witnessed inside. It turned out that inside the plane, there was silence, no movement, no agitation. All the passengers were sitting lifeless on their seats, and no one was present in the cockpit either. During this, the F-16 pilots had to go to the cockpit of the plane. I saw a man who appeared to be a pilot. He could not be seen. He was roaming around in the cockpit. I was looking for something or trying to understand something. You might be trying to. The next moment, the plane suddenly tilted to one side and rapidly fell towards the ground. He started to descend. After a few minutes, he reached Athens. It collided with mountains in the north of 121 passengers and crew members died in the accident. Everything is over. But what is the whole matter? What happened? Why was there any movement inside the plane, wasn't it? The pilots and crew members were not aware of any "why weren't you answering the calls?" And the tech, what happened inside after I became the cause of a horrific accident. This story of Haas Flight 52, also known as Ghost Plane. It is also remembered from the film industry. Once again, flattery in the videos. Nazarene on the morning of the 14th of August 2005. At Cyprus, 115 passengers and 6 others at Larnaca Airport crew members aboard Helios Flight 52. His destination was a city in the Czech Republic. It was Prague. But on the way, they had to go to Athens. I had to make a stopover in the summer. It was the weather. And most of the people were from Cyprus who went for holidays in Athens. They were about to land. The captain of this flight was a very experienced person, 59 years old. At the age of, he had more than 17,000 flying hours was an experience. First, the officer was also 51 years old, and he too, 7,500 hours were spent in the air. Usually, in such accidents, the expertise of the crew depends, emphasis is given. But in this case, the story, there was something different. Both these pilots had flown several times before were together in flights. And first officer often told his friends and family, complaint of captain's pressure and strict attitude. The airline had also raised this issue earlier. I had knowledge of it. Not only this, but the first officer. This thing also came to light in the training record of I came to them that in the checklist procedure, it was a problem. This was something that later was going to prove to be the most important. The plane is a 7-year-old Boeing 737-300. In the cool morning breeze, the ship took off without any problems. Takeoff from Larnaca Airport without any issue. As soon as the plane was above 10,000 feet, the crew went to Nicosia. Air traffic contacted the control and the captain flying at a height of 34,000 feet. He asked for permission, which he got, but as the same aircraft can reach an altitude of 12,000 feet, suddenly an alarm sounded and the cockpit started. This alarm was the same one that often it used to be played on the ground before takeoff, when there was an issue with the takeoff configuration of the aircraft. Yes, that is why both pilots were surprised that why is he listening to it on the air? 90 seconds later, the captain of his airline contacted the operations center and they about takeoff configuration warning. He also said that ventilation, the cooling fan lights are off. And Majid asked where its circuit breakers are located. Are you? The engineer on the ground replied that those lights should be off anyway, and that circuit breaker captain's seat is present behind. When the engineer told the captain when asked to verify the issue, captain said that it is not closed. This is the pilot's. The engineer did not understand the answer at all. Meanwhile, the engineer remembered one thing. Before the flight, this engineer had inspected the plane. The pressurization system was checked. Because the controls of this system were close to the controls about, the captain was giving confused answers. That's why the engineer asked the captain if his pressurization mode on auto or manual. But instead of answering this, the captain said, I repeated the same question again, that the circuit, where are the breakers? This conversation, oxygen supply for passengers inside the plane during the masks had fallen down. Shortly after this, Helios ground operations plane, the connection with the plane was broken. In no time, the plane reached 34,000 feet, and now all attempts to communicate appear to be futile. Helios operations now have operations in Nicosia, contacted air traffic control and said she was trying to contact Flight 52. Try it. For the next 5 minutes, the controller tried to contact the plane, but there was no response. Then the controller from another aircraft approaching Flight 52, I contacted him and told him that he would take the flight, try to contact 52, but the method also failed. Meanwhile, Flight 52, now in Greek airspace without permission, had entered, and she had boarded her flight. Plan continued. Nicosia air traffic. The control tower received an emergency signal from Flight 52. Tried to communicate on frequency as well, but no reply came from here either. He then took a flight to Athens ATC in Greece, contacted, and asked if his flight was, is there any connection with 52 or not? But unfortunately, his radio calls were also. There was no reply from the ship. Now here are two. There were possibilities. Either someone on Flight 52, there is an issue of radio transmission, which because of this, he is able to hear the calls, but their replies are not being transmitted. Or both pilots have been taken hostage. Keeping the possibility in mind first, the Athens control tower ordered the plane to land. Permission was granted, but from Flight 52's side, there was no indication to get down. In spite of contacting multiple times, when there was no response, Athens ATC was forced to contact the Greek Air Force, and they were told that Flight 52 was flying without permission, has entered the airspace, and the messages. There is no reply. Greek Air Force 2, F-16 jets immediately to intercept. By this time, Flight 52 was on autopilot. But follow your flight path perfectly. The point where she had to get down, that point, has already been missed twice, but the plane could fly at 34,000 feet only. Flight 737 was doing so at 52 a.m. Holding pattern over Athens airport. The holding pattern is that pattern. It is said that the plane flies above the airport, going in circles and asking for permission. As soon as he gets it, he makes a landing approach. When he was on the 6th round of the holding pattern at that time, both F-16 intercepts them. It was exactly 8:30 in the morning to F-16. One of the pilots gave a very surprising statement. He said that Flight 52, the captain's seat in the cockpit, is vacant. He also looked inside the passenger cabin. In the light of the windows on the other side, the cabin looked fine. There were passengers. He was sitting absolutely motionless on his seat, while they had oxygen masks on their faces. When 10th round of ship holding pattern fired, one of the F-16 pilots noticed saw the scene. A man wearing a light blue shirt and wore a black vest entered the cockpit and sat on the captain's seat. He wear headphones and hold your hands in front of you, place them on the panel. The pilots placed them in the cockpit. He made a hand gesture to the person present, at which he even responded by waving his hand, but only a little. Moments later, the plane's left engine stopped, after which the plane turned sharply to the left. It tilted to the side and started descending towards the ground. In the morning, a little before 9 a.m., the ship Majid left turned towards it, and then its right engine also stopped. After about 4 minutes, from the hills northwest of Athens, it got destroyed after the collision. Immediately after the accident, investigators got to work. I inspected the debris and also talked to the engineer, who answered the questions about the plane before the accident. He had done maintenance work on the car. One of the injured died due to the accident. The night before, the same engineer had pressurization leak test was done. During this he saw the pressurization mode changed from auto to manual had been placed in position, but to finish the job after he forgot to put the switch back on auto, the plane flew to a height of 34,000 feet. Was going on, and because of the manual position, the air pressure inside started to decrease. Low. The human brain works under pressure for only 10 minutes can work, and this condition is called hypoxia, it is said. That means lack of oxygen. It's most. The first effect is on the brain, which confusion, decreased thinking ability, and ultimately unconsciousness or even death may occur. Both pilots received their pre-flight. This switch had to be checked during duties, but he did not pay attention because normally that switch would be in the auto position. They have two tools to identify the issue. There were other opportunities, before taxiing and takeoff after, but he missed every opportunity. When if the plane goes above 12,000 feet, cabin altitude, warning alarm sounding, it started. But the pilot's attention takeoff instead of pressurization system, the configuration has moved to warning. Due to misunderstanding, he started that procedure, which is usually given on the runway before takeoff. This is done, and thus the real issue is resolved. Meanwhile, in the plane, an oxygen was supplied nearby. The light came on. But due to hypoxia, perhaps because of the initial effects, but I did not pay any attention to it. This was the time when the captain and first officer fainted, and 10 after the oxygen supply of 1 minute is over, passengers and crew also lost consciousness. Now the question arises that the person in the cockpit, who was there to answer the question 2 hours after he became unconscious? I reached there later. It was found out through investigation, that he was the flight attendant, Andreas. There was a program which had a commercial pilot. He had a license, but not to fly, as 737 was not qualified. Cockpit voice recorder revealed that the program caused the engines to fail. After this, I also tried to make a call, but he accidentally pressed the transmit button. I forgot to press it. The investigation board found this, investigated why. His flying expertise was so. She didn't know she could control a Boeing 737. That too, when the fuel runs out, the engine may have failed. And if it somehow, even if I could land the plane, it is impossible for passengers and crew to survive, it was. Because the brain had been hypoxia for so long, it causes irreversible damages. During the investigation in the wreck of the ship, 3 out of 4 portable oxygen cylinders were found in used condition. It proved that programs and perhaps 2, and the cabin crew members removed these cylinders had used it, because of which he was left. In the competition between passengers and pilots, stay conscious longer, Helios Aviation, after the crash of Flight 52, the industry has learned a lot and has learned many new things. SOPs were also created in which Boeing was enhancing training of pilots and instructed to understand the difference between warnings. After implementing these SOPs, accident like Helios Flight 52 till date, it does not happen again. Like and share the video a lot. I will appreciate your loving comments. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.